Okay, here we go. I didn't like I didn't like that open, but you know what? We'll,
Uh,
we'll keep it.
Keep it. Just, or you know what? They'll take it out and edit. It'll be fine. Take it
We'll,
out in post. That's what
yeah,
the professionals say.
take it out in post. Hopefully,
Take it out in
hopefully the
post.
editor remembers to do that. Okay, welcome
Yeah.
everybody to episode 2 of Why Bitcoin. Today with me on the show I have the ever popular Papa Baron.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Okay, guys. I want to open the show this week by explaining one, why the show is entitled Why Bitcoin, and two, just going quickly into who I am and who my wonderful co host is, Papa Bear. And so I'll start by explaining who I am. My name's Jeff. I've been a person on the internet. Uh, person that uploads things on the internet for about 5-ish years, spanning Hearthstone, other video games, and making podcasts about video game things. So I'm no stranger to the internet, and recently I've become very inclined to research Bitcoin and how it is going to affect the future, and that's brought my interest in being on the internet back. I'm not an expert in Bitcoin. I'm actually not an expert in anything. I'm actually pretty dumb when it comes to a lot of things, but I'm curious as ever. So that's a little bit about me and why I want to make this show. Papa, do you want to give just a little blurb about who you are and why you want to be on this show?
Sure. I am a father and a small businessman. The year 2020, with my business essentially being shut down for the entire year, gave me a lot of time to contemplate things like monetary policy and everything else. And so I've sort of been trying to find solutions around being stymied again, like I was last year. And so between that and our friendship, and you sort of turning me on to Bitcoin, although uh, I was studying other things prior to Bitcoin, but so like you, I'm not an expert in this thing, um, and I'm not really an expert in anything either, I guess.
But
But
just
I know a lot of
curious,
stuff.
curious and
Curious,
professional Googler.
yeah, professional Googler, and I think both you and I, if I might say, we're pretty good at extrapolating common sense
I I
to
like
the
that
subject.
theory. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
that's the theory. It's a working theory, correct?
Beautiful. And then for anybody that's also brand new, me and Papa became friends on Twitter a number of years ago at this point, I guess, where I had less than
Yeah, it
50
was.
fo-
Yeah.
it was
It
it
is
was years
actually
ago.
pretty funny how that happened. Like it was just a random.
It's something that both me and you hate is promoting yourself on Twitter obnoxiously, and I said, "Hey guys, I need 50 followers to hit affiliate." And you're like, "Okay, you idiot, I'll follow you." And then I was like, "Hey, this guy cooks and stuff. I'll watch this show." And
Yeah, that
through
was.
what were you going to say?
No, not gonna say anything. I
Yeah.
was waiting for you.
Oh, I was just, and then somewhere along the way, we found friendship in the things that we hate about the world, pretty much, which is why I liked you, because I was like, oh, this guy's just here to debate and cause shit. And then one day you called me a
I am kind
contrarian.
of. I'm not. I don't think I'm officially a shit poster, but I am definitely a shit stirrer.
Yeah,
So like I'm like a step down from shit poster.
nice. I like
So
that theory. I would agree with that. I'm the same way. I'm here to make myself laugh, and if other people laugh along the way, then that'll make me smile too.
and something tells me 2021 is going to be full of those kinds of moments.
Lots of lulls. There's been a few this
So let's
week.
dig into it, man.
Okay,
Let's start this off. Tell us about Bitcoin. Why?
why
Seven
Bitcoin?
foot fiend. Let me ask you a question. Why Bitcoin?
Okay, let me tell you this. The thing about humans that perplexes me that we all started as young children, and I think the one question we asked, one of the first questions any kid asks, and you know this having kids, and I have a kid that's starting to ask it too. And if you go back to your childhood, you'll remember asking why, and you'll do it relentlessly to things that don't matter. Why is that light on? Why can't I turn the light on? Why is the carpet red? Why is the sky blue? Why am I going to my grandmother's house today? Why do I have to go to sleep? And we ask this relentlessly, and somewhere along the line, for a lot of people, they just stop asking why. And I think that's the greatest tragedy that can happen in a life, um, to where you go to school and the teacher says, you got to figure out how to do this long math. And you say, why? And the teacher says, because I said so. And it just breaks a person's soul in that way. And they're just like, well, I guess I'm just here to do whatever I'm told. And I've never been one to do what I'm told just simply because somebody said so. And I think the reason is you ask why. And when you can figure out the reasons why, then it just makes you a better person. And I always want people to ask why, and I never want people to stop asking why. I think it's one of the greatest questions. And I think why Bitcoin is a question a lot of people have. We're not here to convince you to buy Bitcoin. We're not here to tell you why Bitcoin is amazing. We're here simply to help you ask the questions that you want to answer in why Bitcoin. Why is it being talked about? Why is it coming up in popularity? Why does it matter? Why is my life going to be affected? Is my life going to be affected? And those are all questions that I had when I started looking it up. And those are the questions I want to answer. So, why Bitcoin? Why does it matter?
All right, pretty solid. I could go along with that.
It's pretty good, right? Like, don't you feel there's a lot of people in your life that at some point in the school system or they got a job and somebody was their boss and they just stopped asking why? And I think that's also a big trigger for where people start getting depressed and anxiety. And once you stop asking why and you're just doing what you're told, you lose a sense of yourself. And that makes me sad to think of having the people.
Truth be told, I've never been able to really coalesce well into a job uh, because I do have a tendency to ask why too many times.
Okay, let me stop you right there. You just triggered the first game of the day. We're adding games, and the game is define that. You can ask
To find that,
you can ask me to define that whenever I
we're
say a
gonna need a
word
jingle. You know, we're gonna need a jingle for
for
define
define
that.
that. Okay, so you said
Yeah.
coalesce. So you tell me what you think it means.
Well,
I'm
first
gonna
of all, I think I
quickly.
mispronounced it. It's coalesce, not coalesced.
How do you even
I
spell that? Coalesce.
Google it.
I'm trying. Coalesce. C O A
Co-
L
yeah,
E S C E.
sure, I'll buy
Coalesce.
that. I'm
Okay.
horrible at spelling. I'm not even gonna try.
All right.
But essentially, it's to come together would be the layman's definition, I
Oh,
guess.
okay, yeah. To coalesce as a single mass, the atoms were coalesced into a larger molecule. So you were never be able to become a larger
I
molecule with a job.
I was
That
never
makes sense.
yes I've never been what a corporation would call a team player per
Yeah,
se.
perfect.
Not that I wanted to do harm to anybody. I just didn't like stupid rules.
Yeah,
So
because you asked
uh,
why, and that's why
right,
I like you.
right. Thanks,
That's
man.
usually
I
where it comes
appreciate it.
from. You just ask, "Why am I doing this dumb shit?" And then they don't have an answer for you, so you say, "Okay, I'm not gonna do it then."
Right. Or you say, well, wouldn't it be better if I did it this way? And
Mm,
then they go, well, no, that's never the way we've done it.
exactly.
That's not my question. That's not what I asked you. I asked you, what do you think about doing it a different way that might be more effective or more profitable or just doesn't
Easier.
bug the hell out of me? You
That
know?
just makes more sense for everyone involved. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is definitely part of that. Well, some people will
Well,
say,
I
"Why
mean,
would we use Bitcoin?" And it's like, well, why wouldn't
let's
we?
even take it further back, right? Satoshi, the mythological creator of Bitcoin, what did he do? He sat down and he said, how or what could we do to fix the problem that is,
Money.
fiat banking,
Yes.
and so he settled on this, and I would love to shake that man's hand, but you know
You will someday. Someday he'll be out there in the stars and we'll all understand each other. That's the dream.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's see. We'll start with the question of the day. Are you ready? The question of the day today is how, actually, which kind of goes against the title, but that's fine. How to buy Bitcoin. Because I think a lot of people come in here, if they had watched the first episode and maybe they're curious, well, their next question is going to be like, all right, how do I get my hands on some of this stuff? Where do I go to get it? And how do I know it's safe? So I'd like to ask you if you're like, don't say anything that's going to out you or whatever, but where did you go to buy it? Where do you store it? How did you get it? How did you know it was safe? Do you have any tips or tricks for people that are new to buy it in a safe and secure way?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, got to start with the first very basic. First, let's say this before I say anything about that. This is a not a financial advice show. We are not financial advisors. Nothing we say you should do is something that you should do without researching it on your own. That being said,
Okay, let me
um,
just comment on that really quick because
go
I
ahead.
heard you say that last week, and I've seen a
Yep.
lot of people saying that online, and it's a thing that people say. So of course I looked up, well, why are people saying this? And the reason people say that is because if somebody takes your financial advice and it ends up being bad for them, then they can sue you on the terms that you told them to do it, so it's your fault that they did it, and thus it's that's why people put the little phrase in there. This is not financial advice. So I can pretty confidently say, everybody listening, you should just buy Bitcoin and then hold it, and that's good financial advice. But I should also say this is not financial advice. It's a tricky little term. It's a tricky little term.
It's unfortunately the world we live in is very litigious, and therefore you have to say things like that.
That's
So,
true.
um,
Okay, so how
so
did how did you go about it?
that being said, the first thing you should do is you should research. You should listen to this show. You should go on YouTube. There are tons of other shows. Some of the people that I like are Robert Kiyosaki. You can look him up. He's got a podcast called Rich Dad Poor Dad. One of the people that I really like is Crypto Casey. She's very big on YouTube. I would recommend her. Um, and they all have their own different takes on how you should purchase Bitcoin. So after you've done your research, you should, in my opinion, probably look at some of the bigger exchanges. So an exchange uh, for definition purposes
Yeah, define
is
that.
yeah, right. A definition a definition. Good lord. Um, an exchange is a website that you can go ahead and you can trade out your fiat money, your cash dollar bills for
Well, not
crypto.
cash dollar bills. It'd have to be money in a bank account
Well,
right
okay,
now.
but they think of it like, all right, listen, you. Basically, you set up an account with a an exchange. You give them your banking information. You withdraw fiat cash from your account. They take it, and then you can go ahead and it usually just sits there until you purchase um, ecoin of some kind, whether it's
Yes.
Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. Um,
There's plenty of them.
so so what I did, if you know, uh, if we want to just go ahead and drop some names, I've used I've used Binance, I've used Coinbase, I've used Coinbase Pro. I'm still trying to get approved for Kraken.
Nice.
I've heard Kraken is very good.
Kraken is good.
Unfortunately, I the week after my driver's license expired, I tried to sign up for Kraken, and you have to send them a picture of your driver's license,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, this is expired." So because of COVID, everything shut down. So I had to mail out for my driver's
Driver's
license
license.
so that I can actually do that. So
That's
so
rough.
those are some of the big players in terms of exchanges, and
Cool.
then
Let's just go into that a little bit. So anybody that's nervous about Bitcoin and you're like, what is this? That was one of the first aha moments for me, was being like, well, if Bitcoin is this big deal, where do I go to buy it? Bitcoin.com. And then you quickly realize, oh, I can get it on multiple sources. I can get it here, I can get it there, I can get it over here, and I can put it anywhere. Which takes it away from that pyramid schemey, little nefarious tricks that they do to, hey, you have to buy it here, and then once you buy it here, we got you. No, you can go anywhere. It's the same as going to opening up a bank account. You can go to 73 banks in your country and open up a bank account wherever you want. It's the same way you can get Bitcoin anywhere you want. And Papa named the big ones: Coinbase, Binance. There's also smaller ones like Bull Bitcoin, there's Swan. There is a huge number of them all over the world. Yeah, so look
and I
into
would
which one is best for you.
yeah, I mean there are pros and cons for each. For example, Coinbase, I think out of all the ones that I've tried, hands down easiest far and away to just start purchasing coin
I'd agree with that for
easily.
sure, but Coinbase is doing great there.
However, there are some perks and benefits to opening an account with Coinbase Pro, which is technically a separate entity. Um, you can do stuff like stop trades where you can set a price that you want to purchase at, and then the purchase won't execute until that price is met. So that's a little more advanced, not necessarily need to going there, but I'm just saying there's pros and cons for a
To
lot of these
every
different
exchange,
trading
yeah.
things.
A lot of them have
And
that dollar cost averaging where every week it automatically takes it out of your bank account, so it just automatically makes a trade for you, so you don't even have to think about it. That's another bonus of some of them.
Yeah, I believe Coinbase does that, and Coinbase Pro does not, if I am remembering correctly. You'd have to
Nice.
double check. So, all that to be said, once you actually purchase some, it is strongly encouraged that you investigate what is called cold storage. Now, do you want to talk about cold storage right now, or do you want to wait for that?
Uh, do you have anything else to say on exchanges? I feel like we hit every point on exchanges. There's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of them.
think yeah, again, it really just comes down to you got to do some research. And if you guys have questions and you want us to answer them specifically, you can absolutely just go ahead and type it into the chat or the not the chat, I'm sorry, the comments below,
Comments
and
down
we will
below.
definitely get to it next week and we will answer them directly.
Yeah, that's
Uh
actually where I got well, it wasn't in the YouTube comments, but I got comments in you can also message us on Twitter or on Discord or anywhere you can find us. Like, I got some people saying, "Hey, who's that guy you're talking to?" And I got people saying, "Hey, what's the title about?" And so that's why we wanted to answer those questions.
I think yeah, well last week was sort of a trial balloon for both of us, so I
Yeah,
think we're kind of finding our rhythm a little bit and these questions just help us make the show better, guys. So if you have
exactly.
them, just keep doling them out. That's fine.
Yes.
So
Okay, so yeah, that covers exchanges pretty well. Let's move on to wallets. And if you want to open with cold, did you discover cold storage first or custodial wallets or app wallets first? Because for me, I discovered the app wallets before I even knew what cold storage was. Are you opposite?
I actually was, yeah. I investigated more cold because that was one of my concerns. And I don't know if you remember us talking about it originally when you first were kind of pitching the idea of Bitcoin to me. One of my biggest concerns was the idea that, well, what if these exchanges, I didn't know what they were called then, but what if these websites they get hacked?
Mm-hmm.
Or some dude decides that he's going to go ahead and print off 1 million Bitcoin or something like that. Because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand anything about Bitcoin at that point, right?
Okay, can I
And
stop?
so,
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah, go
continue.
ahead.
Sorry, I just have a quick story about that. So it's just interesting because when you ask questions about Bitcoin, it's been around for 12 years, so most of the questions you have already been answered. And the main thing you were scared of is what if this website goes down? What if this exchange goes down? And that is exactly what happened in 2014 with Mt. Gox. If you look into it, basically nobody knew what they were doing with Bitcoin, so everybody was buying it from this one server, and
Could
then that
you, excuse
server.
me, could you define Mount Gox? Can you spell that and tell us what that is a little bit? Because I have no idea what you're referencing right now.
You haven't heard of Mount Gox. Okay, so Mount Gox, this is actually a really cool story. Mount Gox started as a Magic the Gathering card game exchange, and it was called Magic the Gathering Online Exchange, hence Mount Gox, um, which turned into a gathering where everybody was talking about Bitcoin. And then they used the online exchange to not only exchange Magic cards, but also exchange Bitcoin. It was run by I can't remember his name, but I do know that this is where the Winklevi twins got uh, into it because they were part of it.
Do you
And
mean Winklevoss?
yeah, the Winklevi, yeah.
Okay, you're being
There,
funny.
there, there's two of them. They go by the Winklevi twins. They're the good guys in the story as of right now, which everybody thought they were the bad guys, but that's another story. Um, you can look up the Winklevi and who they were. If you ever watched The Social Network, they were the bad guys against Mark Zuckerberg. Great movie. So Mount Gox was an exchange, and everybody had their coins on the exchange, and then it got shut down. And this is actually where Bitcoin Cash or one of the breakoffs happened because somebody did happen to hack Mount Gox. And then what happened was the programming of Bitcoin just said, okay, well, somebody says that all this Bitcoin just moved over here. So we'll just make a split and say, if this happens, we'll call this Bitcoin Cash. And then Bitcoin just went on being Bitcoin. And then that was, I think, the dawn of the first altcoin. So basically, here's a coin that got hacked. If this is the ledger you want to go with, here it is. Bitcoin is going to continue being the ledger that is just going to pretend that that thievery didn't happen. So here's this, which is why Bitcoin is the most important one because it's the longest ledger and therefore the safest. And so a lot of people got upset because their Bitcoin got stolen. They didn't know where it was. They lost trust in the system and they all sold whatever they had left. You can look up in the graphs the big drop off of Bitcoin somewhere around 2014. And then gradually over time it started going up. So that fear that you had of what happens if this website goes down, it happened and it was bad. But the fact of the matter is Bitcoin just started gaining popularity again and now it's where it is today. So your fear was legitimate and it has happened.
And that's not to say that it couldn't happen again. And I don't want to, I don't think it does anybody any favors to pretend like that couldn't happen again. Okay. If it happened once, that's what people do. They, especially, these black hat guys, they love to hack this stuff. So,
Mhm.
what is highly recommended by most people that I've watched, and I have followed their advice, is you get what's called a cold storage wallet. Um, so the concept of the wallet is actually very similar. If you think of Bitcoin or any ecoin as dollar bills, let's just say for a second, right? You have a wallet that you put into your back pocket that you can fill with dollar bills and walk around, and then you want to uh, pay for something, which you can't really do very much with ecoin, although that's becoming more accepted.
Mhm.
Um, but it's essentially it's just a container for your ecoin. But what you can do is what's called, excuse me, I have to cough.
Cough, 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 cough. What you can
Yes,
do.
there you go. Sorry about that. What you can do is you can get what is called a cold storage wallet, which essentially takes the information and takes it off of the exchanges. So that way it's literally off the grid. It literally is a physical removal of the information from the internet so it cannot be touched. It is the safest way to go um, in terms of protecting your stuff. It's also full disclosure, it can be kind of dangerous too, in the sense that if you lose your cold storage wallet or the passwords to your cold storage wallet, you lose access completely to any ecoin that was stored on it.
Yeah,
So it becomes a very personally responsible act, a very self-actualizing act to get involved with Bitcoin because it truly becomes a medium of exchange that is solely on your shoulders. You can't blame the bank if they lose a deposit. You can't, blame your brother if he decides to sneak a couple of bucks out of your wallet. If you lose your information or you lose your wallet, you just lost your money.
yeah.
So, full disclosure, that's something that people really should understand at the very beginning,
One thing when you get into Bitcoin, you quickly realize how much responsibility you're putting on yourself, which is uh, a good thing. For sure, to be responsible for your own finance is a good thing. And that's something over time people just decided I'm just not going to care about my finances. I throw money in the bank, they take care of it. And if it goes away, then I'll just complain to them and they'll give me more. Bitcoin takes that away, but gives you the responsibility all on yourself to be in charge of your own life, which is, in my opinion, a very good thing. You're not trusting anybody else to watch your stuff. You're trusting yourself, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which can be scary for a lot of people, like you said. And we kind of touched on this last week too, with the idea that people aren't uh, trained to or educated to
Be
care about
responsible.
their own money.
Care
Right.
about
Well,
themselves
I
at
mean,
all.
yeah. I mean, from the standpoint of we don't know, I mean, look, we eat McDonald's, right? Or we eat fast food.
Hmm.
We know that there are bad things in that food that are not necessarily the most natural, right? And don't get me wrong, I still eat all the fast food. I know, but this is my point, right?
Hmm.
We know things can be bad for us and we just don't care.
Yeah.
We know the banking system can be bad for us and we just don't care.
I,
So look at it this way. Entering into a relationship with Bitcoin and eCoin is like starting to eat healthy.
it is.
You start
Yeah.
to take you start to take care of yourself, you start to take care of your financial body when you start monitoring where your money is going, how much value it's losing, how much it's gaining. Is it just sitting there in an account earning nothing, or is it sitting somewhere and it's earning interest, or you've invested it in something and it's
Yeah.
gaining value?
We can look into
It
that later
becomes
too.
this right, but it becomes this conscious awareness. So it's a lot like starting to eat healthy or starting to exercise. You're being aware of what your body is doing or what your financial body is doing, and you are making yourself healthier overall as a result.
Yeah, just for one more analogy, I kind of liken it to the idea of starting your own business because so many people they go to school to get a job, and then once they have a job, they have a boss, and they don't have to do anything. The boss tells them what to do. Once you start holding your own Bitcoin, it feels more like, okay, well, I'm kind of in charge of this myself, so I can be in charge of, like you said, taking care of my body, taking care of my mental health, taking care of what I'm going to do with my time. And it's just one step in the right direction, which is why once you own Bitcoin, it's almost a mentality shift, like you said, where you feel more responsible for yourself. And that feels good.
It really does. It really does. Absolutely. In fact, small anecdote, I would just like to brag a little bit if I could have the floor for a second.
Oh, brag to me.
Today is a matter of fact, today I went ahead and through Coinbase Commerce, I set up an account and now my business, my little small business officially can take Bitcoin and Ethereum as payment for any of my goods on my website. So
Oh,
I'm very
cool.
excited about
You
that.
have a little
Yeah.
pay by Bitcoin button on your website?
Yep, yep. Yeah, I checked it out. If you go and you start to check out and stuff like that, then there's actually, like because there's an option for like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal,
PayPal? Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Now it's Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Bitcoin right
That's
there,
very cool.
baby.
I do
Yeah,
like that.
so I'm excited about that.
Uh, I'm very proud of you. I was trying to work around that too because I was thinking like on my Twitch channel, I can just literally put pay me in Bitcoin if you want to, and then just put a link to my wallet. But that's not what you did. You went a little step further and got Coinbase involved in it.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I felt like, having the APIs set up for me was worth whatever exchange rate I'm going to have to pay off. It's
Yeah.
also kind of cool when you start to investigate it because Bitcoin and Ethereum they fluctuate in price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you basically can dial in allowances. So like let's say I sell something for $10, right?
Yeah.
I can put an allowance that says, I'm going to only take a fluctuation of like 50 cents or a dollar between the two, right? So theoretically, if somebody got me at the right moment with Bitcoin, I they could end up paying, I guess, like $9 for a $10 item
Yeah.
or vice versa, $11, but it wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like
But you're smart
it
because you know that that's going to be worth a lot more in a month or 2 months or 3 months or
right,
a couple
exactly.
years, depending on whatever.
Yeah, and I think someday on this show maybe we should do like just a prognostication show where we just kind
Okay,
of guess.
define that.
Prognostication is when you try to predict the future. You know,
Prognostication. Really
it's a
throwing
real word. I promise you. I
the
didn't make it
action
up.
of foretelling or prophesying future events. Okay, cool.
Prophesying. Yeah.
Prophesying. Yeah, great. Great
By
word.
the way, if you're listening to this, listeners, if there's a word that isn't a word, you should go ahead and just message me on the side, and then I'll just use it next week, and we'll just see if I can convince 7 Foot that it's an actual word. That'll
And
be a fun game we'll play, just you and me, okay, audience? All right.
the problem for you is that I'm a superhuman because I have access to Google, so you'll never be able to pull one over on me. My goal is to just say a word that will make you say define that, and I think it might be a while till I get there.
Maybe we should bet a Bitcoin on it then. We'll see if you can stump me.
That's I would never bet Bitcoin. I'm not an idiot. Jeez.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
Okay,
anyways, I kind of lost track of where we were at.
we were
That was
talking
kind of
about
fun.
cold storage. We were talking about your
Cold
store
storage.
now. Do you want to plug your store really quick? Tell us
Oh,
what you
sure.
sell.
Yeah.
Why not?
Guys, when I'm not doing super awesome podcasts with my friend 7 Foot Fiend, I do leather goods. I make hand stitched, hand cut, handcrafted leather. It's at www.tworavenstrading.com.
Cool.
Thanks for looking.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of like our first sponsor of the show now, basically, because it's at the halfway mark where we basically have ads. So, what was the name one more time?
Tworavenstrading.com. TWORAVENSTRADING.
There you go.
It's long. It's long, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's the best place to go to support Why Bitcoin podcast right now. Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Use code Why Bitcoin at checkout for zero
Oh,
percent
maybe I'll
savings.
do that next
You
month.
could
Then maybe
actually
that's my
do
code.
that, which would be kind of cool. Okay, cool. So your store. Now you were talking about cold storage. Was there anything else you wanted to say about cold storage? Any fears you have? Hey, is there only one place you can get cold storage?
Oh, what a good question. Thanks for asking. No, actually, there are several. There are several. The two big ones right now, in my experience and my understanding, is Ledger, a company called Ledger, and a company called Treasure, but it's
Okay.
spelled T-E-R, no, sorry, Trezor. And before I get any further in either of that, I want to say something really important because this is something I think it could be easily missed. Okay. If you guys get that far into cold storage, it is highly recommended by everyone that I've watched. You do not buy off of Amazon. You do not buy from a third party vendor for these things. You
Oh
must
yeah.
buy them directly from the manufacturer. It's
Yeah.
very important so that these things can't be tampered with. Because once again, if these things get tampered with, it's not anybody's fault. It's yours,
Yeah, and
right?
it's
So
not your coin if somebody else can access it.
right, if somebody else, and that's what happens is they put basically little worm programs that kind of ping whenever you hook the thing up to the internet, and they can have access to your money.
Yeah.
So very important. Again, not financial advice, but very important. Make sure if you
I
do
think you
get
only
that
have
far
to
into the
say it
process.
once.
I'm just gonna keep saying it because it makes me feel good. It's
It,
like
it
a
it makes you
nervous tick,
feel, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is not
you
financial
know.
advice, but you should buy Bitcoin all the time. I'm gonna throw one more cold storage. I've heard a lot of good things about a company called Cold Card. That's what I've been looking into, Cold Card. So there's three different options. You guys can research and see which one best suits you.
And you should. And they all have different. So real quick, one of the things that you will look for is this idea. Oh, here's something we should clarify because this is not something I understood when I first started doing it. Every every different type of ecoin essentially has a wallet attached to it. Okay, so you can't stick your Bitcoin into the same wallet per se um, as an Ethereum, right?
Oh, okay, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but your so like your cold storage actually is a container of multiple wallets. All right.
Yes.
That's an important distinction to make because one of the things that happens is some cold storage containers can only handle like the one I have is the Ledger S. Okay, that can only handle 5 wallets total.
Hmm.
Um, but like the Ledger X can have handle like 100 different types of coin essentially.
Interesting.
So these are different things that you need to kind of be look like if you're the type of person that wants to like play the market a little bit more and maybe try to get rich real quick by buying something at a penny and you think it's going to go up like a penny stock kind of scenario,
Yeah,
but for ecoin, then you're probably going to want a little more containment than just 5 wallets
but
in your
you
cold
shouldn't be
storage.
doing that because that's a bad idea.
You
But
shouldn't
yes.
probably be doing that,
Well,
but
let me say one thing then. As far as cold storage goes, there's also I don't know what it's not called warm storage. I don't know what it is, but basically apps that let you store your bitcoins or whatever coins you have on an app wallet. Which, so far to my understanding, some of them will only let you have one wallet. Some of them you can have as many as you want, and some of them are kind of held by the exchanges. So there's a lot of
I think
wrong
those are
ways to
called
go.
hot storage. It
Is it
could be
called?
wrong, but
Okay.
I think they are officially called hot storage.
Okay, we'll look into it later. I don't know. I'll stick with warm storage. Cold storage is just cool because it makes sense. It's like it's off the grid, so it makes sense to me.
Well, I always think of cold storage as like that scene in James Bond Cold Finger, or Goldfinger, not Coldfinger. Goldfinger where he's like, he's in the Fort Knox and there's like it's like this sterile environment. There's all these bars of gold. That's what I think of when I think of cold storage. So
Okay,
it's
so
like seems like super badass to me.
I'm from a different generation than you. Cold storage for me reminds me of Halo. Oh, I think it's Halo 3 because there's a map called Cold Storage and it's really small and tight and everybody's like fighting in these tight corners. So and there's a
I
cold
never
feeling
had
because
an
it's blue.
Xbox. I never played Halo. I'm
One
sorry.
day we'll play Halo. It's still up. We can play. So that's what cold storage was to me. So
Okay. All right. So either way, we have cool ideas of what it is, but it is important to look at. Although I will say one other thing, one other caveat. It's generally recommended. So like, um, let me put it this way: if you go out today and you buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, it's not generally recommended that you immediately also go out and buy cold storage.
mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where it's as you get more involved in the process and you want to protect a larger sum of cash or money. It's so weird, right? Isn't it weird that we
It's
have to
hard to,
kind of
yeah, it's hard
we
to say what
we have to
words.
keep referring to it as coin even though it also is cash and it's also a storage good and it's
Why
like
Bitcoin?
it
Bitcoin and capsules, all those things. You're just the
it
one that
does.
keeps
It's just
talking about
it's
the other
so it's
weird
I'm
ones.
trying to be so precise with my language sometimes,
It's
but then
tough.
I get yeah, it is. It's very tough. Anyways, anyways, just the number I heard, and this is kind of what I've stuck to, is that if I have more than $500 worth of ecoin out on the warm exchanges, we'll call them, or the warm wallets, then you should probably pull some of that back and put it into your cold storage. Basically, your warm storage is just for stuff that you want to be active with. If you don't want to be active with it, you just dump it straight to a cold storage and just let it sit.
To make
Or hodl.
hodl. So yeah, to make it a little bit more simplistic for people that just know nothing, just imagine you have a vault at the bank and you have a bunch of gold bars and you want to keep them in a vault at the bank. You can do that with cold storage. And then when you have a bank account, you have a bank account where you can just quickly go to any ATM and access your cash right away. So cold storage is more like a vault, and the other wallets on your phone are more like a quick ATM bank account, is how I've kind of made it work in
Yeah,
my
I would
head.
agree with that. Yeah, it's like a social security box or a vault or something like that is cold storage. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And most people do store their cold storage in a safe in their house. So not only is it locked up on the actual physical thing, it looks kind of like a USB drive, sort of. And then they'll take that and actually put it in a safe. Papa's is in the top room of his back corner house in the attic. And just
I bury mine in a coffee can out in the yard every time I want to
joking.
access
Right beside my pile of gold.
it. And a treasure map that I found on a pirate with one eye. It was great.
There's going to be actual treasure maps for cold storage wallets probably sometime in the
Oh my
future.
god,
That'd
I
be
just
great.
realized, what if people started doing geocaching with
That'd
those
be cool.
things? You know what geocaching is?
I do. A guy I worked with used to love geocaching. He talked about it all the time, relentlessly.
Oh man, what if Elon Musk did that one time where he just he took one Bitcoin, right? And he just cold storaged it and then geocached it.
Well, they to make that a reality, I did hear that Mr. Beast bought a plot of land on the moon that you could put anything on, and somebody put $1 million
Whoa,
worth of
whoa, whoa,
Bitcoin.
wait, excuse me a second. What the hell? When were we allowed to buy property on the moon? How did
Uh,
that happen?
okay, first off, I bought property on the moon for my wife like 7 years ago. You can go to.
What?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. We own
How
land on
much
the
does it
moon.
cost?
I can't remember, but it was not
Is it like in
expensive.
acres or square footage or
It's
like
yeah.
I've never heard of this.
I
This is
have an
insane.
I have
What?
an acre of land on the moon in the Lake of Dreams. I think it was like
Shut
40.
up.
Yeah, it was like $40 or something. I don't know if this is legit or not, but I have the document hanging on my wall. I'll send you the picture of it later. It's pretty
I
sweet.
mean, like I've heard of like the star registry where you can like name a
Yeah,
star after
exact same
someone.
thing. Exact
But
same
that
thing.
actually goes into like the National Star Registry of the United States, man. Like that's legitimate. Like all
Yeah,
right.
it's
Now I
pretty
have
cool.
to investigate this
I'll
cuz
send you the
I mean
link
if we
for it later.
colonize, I want an acre up on the moon like for my
That that's
summer home.
that's what I was thinking. So, Mr. Beast bought one, and one of the big Bitcoin boys put $1 million worth of Bitcoin, and it's like, here, put this code up there, so it's there for whoever grabs it.
He,
Whenever
how
we
did he put it on the moon?
he bought
What?
$1 million of Bitcoin is on the moon, yeah, which you can only imagine will be what it's worth, and whenever we actually get back to the
Are
moon
you
and
just
somebody
are you just
claims it,
totally BSing me right now?
dude, I do a lot of Bitcoin research. I know so many little funny stories. It's insane. And no, I'm
How
not
did they get it
BSing.
up there? Like what did
Okay, so they're working on these things called spaceships and satellites. It's kind of like how we're talking right now through.
uh-huh,
Wait,
uh-huh,
we.
uh-huh.
I don't know how they got it up there, but they're getting it up there. I don't know if it's up
It
there
sounds
yet,
like an
but
urban legend. I think you've been duped, my friend. I think you
look
have
at.
been. I think the internet is also full of
I
these
will
things called
post.
trolls,
I will
and I
post
think
the
you
link in the description down below for
better.
people
I
that want to see what Mr. Beast bought.
we got no links last time, just for the record.
Yeah,
So,
you probably won't get any links this time either, but I'll keep sending.
ladies and gentlemen, please leave a comment about how you want to see links in the description from now on.
We're
Thank
really
you.
working on the production value, as you can see.
It's week 2. We're still coming up with this thing.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
This week's going to be better production value. I guarantee it.
Oh,
So,
I am actively looking into getting it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you can get podcasts. I've put in a little bit of research right now. It's just on YouTube, but it's
all right.
coming everywhere as soon as I can get the link figured out.
I'll get on that then. I have more time than you do, I think, right now. So
You know
it's
what?
fine.
If you can research it, yeah, I've got a
Will.
few,
I
but
will.
we can talk about that later. Not a big deal.
Right now. Oh my god.
Hmm?
This is live. People are hearing this.
Yeah, I
You
know.
understand?
Shh, shh.
All right. All right. So where are we at? We got
So you talked a bit about cold storage and how much you love cold storage. I'd love to talk
I think
quickly,
Cold
but
Storage is really it was a it, honestly I don't think I could say enough about it just from the standpoint of it makes it very secure in my mind, which was my biggest concern because we talked last week about how we thought, people had heard about it or whatever. I literally had heard about Bitcoin and everything else years and years and years ago.
Hmm.
And my concern then, and as it was maybe even 3 months ago, my concern was some idiot is going to go ahead and just print a million of these things, and I'm going to invest actual time and money into them, and it's going to be worth crap, And so the idea that I can, now that I've learned more, obviously, about Bitcoin and its inherent
You
overall
can't you
value.
can't print more. You can print more of all the other coins, but in Bitcoin
Well,
you can't
you
print
know what?
more.
Someday I would like to answer that. Well, we can talk about it another time, but
That'll be the
I'd like
next
you to
show for
answer
sure.
the
No
question.
problem.
Yeah, I'd like you to answer that question on how that works. Um, but the idea that I can take my Bitcoin or my Ethereum or whatever it is, I can take it and I can take it off the internet so people can't touch it. It's physically removed from the internet. It's safe. That means a lot to me in terms of my security. As somebody who is currently purchasing eCoin, not as a mode of actual cash in hand, not in terms of actual transaction value, but in terms of long term storage, like a gold or silver, to be able to do that, like there are some people, right, that they buy gold and silver, but they don't actually buy it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I buy gold and silver and I keep it.
Yeah, I
I
actually
have
just bought. This is kind of controversial right now this week, but we just bought some silver on the weekend. Some physical silver. I got it coming to my house soon,
right,
which I'm excited about.
right. And I think that's absolutely something people should look at. Especially I don't think, by the way, that those prices are gonna stay up on silver. I think that some of those Reddit boys just got a little overzealous.
It's not.
But
Yeah, there's we. That's a deep dive. We can talk about that
oh yeah, yeah, fair enough.
later.
But okay. So all right. So anyways, I
Let's keep
I
it to wallets. Yeah.
let's keep it to wallets. I think it's a great thing. I think it's really important. So that being said, where are we going next here?
Okay, so I want to talk about the apps quickly because there's also a crap ton of apps you can get. There's a crap ton of cold storage wallets, but you can also get a bunch of apps. And as far as Pop is concerned, yeah, he's right that it's very much. I, I don't even want to say it's safer to keep it on cold storage. I suppose it is safer, but that kind of makes it sound like having it on an app is unsafe, which is at this point in the game very not, I'm going to say not true. Like there's a lot of apps you can
Well,
get that are just as safe as cold storage, um,
mm,
if you look
uh,
into them.
okay, but explain to me. Here's my question then. Okay, given what we've already said about, so we need to be more clear, I think, because we're not being in the concept of an exchange, right? Like the Coinbase we were talking about earlier.
Hmm.
If I say I take $50 out of my savings account and I give it to Coinbase,
Hmm.
I can buy $50 at the time, whatever the price is. I can buy $50 worth of Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Coinbase will hold on to that. It becomes a de facto wallet.
Yes.
So the question I have for you then is, why wouldn't I just keep my stuff on Coinbase? Why would I get another app to transfer it to that? Because there's going to be fees, isn't there? If I transfer it off of Coinbase to a cold store or to a
Another
warm
app.
storage wallet, it's there's going to be fees, right?
Okay, so 100%, yeah. But the thing is, you put it on cold storage because that way you're holding it yourself. There's a term in Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coin, or no keys, no cheese. And when you open up a wallet app, every Bitcoin comes with this is kind of the techie part of it. It comes with a private key and a public key, and that's what you're actually storing. It's a chain of digits or numbers that a computer can read that says this is worth this many Bitcoins. And in order to trade them back and forth, you need to have the private key and the public key both talk to each other and then sent to another person's wallet. And that's how they know that that Bitcoin is moving from point A to point B. When you have it on the exchange, like Coinbase Exchange, they're holding both your private key and your public key, which means you don't have any control over it. When you put it on an app like Blue Wallet or Wallet of Satoshi or Samurai, um, you get what's called a seed phrase, which is a series of either 12 or 24 words. Um, and I don't know 100% of all of this. I'm still not 100% sure, so do your own research. But that seed phrase is basically your private key. Therefore, if anybody hacks into an exchange and tries to take your Bitcoin, they need both your public key and your private key. And if your private key is on Blue Wallet, but your public key is wherever else it is, they can't move that coin around. So as long as you're holding that uh, chain of words that is access to your keys, then nobody can steal it from you. So as long and furthermore, when you open these apps, they don't ask you for any of your information. It's just like, here's a wallet, here's your seed phrase, have at it. And what's nice is if your phone breaks, that seed phrase is what's stored on the overall Bitcoin database. So when you get a new wallet, you download Blue Wallet, or a new phone rather, you download Blue Wallet again, and then you put in that seed phrase and says, here's all your Bitcoin, all right here, easy to access. So basically,
And I think,
by
if I may, I think it should be mentioned that that seed phrase is not even retained by a company like Blue Wallet,
that's right.
or like for the cold storage. They have a program that generates the phrase. That's 24. It's 24 for cold storage as well, for like Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Same thing. Ledger doesn't retain it, which is why when we're saying if you lose that information, you can't get it back, it's because no one else has it on the planet. Nobody else has it.
That's right. It's not
So,
saved. Well, it's
so it's
encrypted.
it's
That's where the cryptography comes into play.
right. But so my point is they have software that generates it but not retains it. So that's what makes it so safe. Keep
So
going.
yeah, so make sure if you are going to buy Bitcoin and you decide to keep it on the exchange, you need to be aware that if that exchange goes down, you can't access to it. So if you put it on a wallet, you can access it whenever you want, but you're 100% responsible for it. You need to be responsible for your own life when you get into Bitcoin, and that's yeah, it's very important.
No, I agree, and it's so at some point we're going to have to talk about the DeFi network that's coming up, because there's some exciting things that are related to this. And one of the things is this company called BlockFi,
Mm-hmm.
which again, do your research, but it's like a savings account for ecoin, and they have the same kind of technology where it's safe. Um, it's probably, I don't know, it's probably hackable now that I think about it. I'm not
It's
100%
tough,
sure.
eh? It's tough to figure it out.
Yeah, they actually give you like interest on it. It's
I've been
running
looking
into.
into BlockFi. How much do you know?
I'm
Can
I'm
you
already
talk about it, or is it hard for you to
yeah,
explain
I'm
stuff?
already on it. I just here's my problem is that I would buy something on Coinbase Pro and it would just sit there essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I don't want to necessarily dump everything onto cold storage, right? Because the problem is with cold storage, in my view, okay, it's sort of like it's just like regular cash, right? If your money's not doing something for you, it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And that bothers me, right?
So
And this
let
is part of that whole process of me becoming more aware of what my money is doing, right? So BlockFi, what they do is you can deposit your ecoin with them, and they, because they're what they call DeFi, which is decentralized finance.
mm,
It's all based on oh my god, this is rabbit holing, and I'm sorry. I
it's tough,
apologize.
eh? So
Really hard to talk about.
decentralized was going to be a word that I thought we could just kind of define really quickly for people that don't
We
understand.
should. We should. So we haven't done that, and maybe for you know what? Let's table BlockFi right now. Let's talk about the concept of Bitcoin itself. Right? Can do we have time to do that? You think?
Okay, so I was gonna say, let tell me all you know about DeFi, and then at the end, like at the another segment of the show, we're gonna do like let's define some really buzzwords in Bitcoin, and decentralized was gonna be one of them.
Okay. All right. I'll just assume we're going to come back and define these things.
Yeah, we'll just define them
Um,
as we go.
and audience, we apologize. We're trying our best here, but there is a lot to cover, and we don't want to.
We're
You don't
just
want to
here to
jump
chat
ahead.
about it. We're just here to chat
Yeah,
about it,
we're
and
just chatting. It's fine. Whatever.
it's
It's
fine.
cool.
People are gonna go
So
on their own way from here, hopefully, to try
I
and
hope they are. I hope they
yeah.
do. So decentralized finance is mm, it's almost easier to define what it is versus or against what it isn't.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so centralized finance is the idea of the idea is it's like the concept of the Federal Reserve System in the United States. All the banking that occurs in the Federal Reserve System of the United States occurs through the Fed. Okay, nothing, no bank. You can't even be registered as a bank unless you are, um, what is it called, certified? I guess
Yeah,
through
certified by the Fed or registered
so you
anyway.
have to become a certified bank, they keep track of all the ledgers. They have everything is all in one location essentially, and they kind of control the whole thing. That's the really, really, really basic version
Uh,
of centralized banking.
and
Okay.
that's true for every country in the world. Like you're talking about the
Yeah,
states,
at this
but
point, yes.
every country has their own central banking system where everything goes through.
Right.
Other, yeah.
So decentralized banking or decentralized finance is this concept that the finance is actually based on a decentralized um, algorithm. Would that be the right word?
It's based on everybody's checking it rather than one bank checking to make sure that the ledger is good. Oh, Papa Baron sent 7 foot fiend $5. The central bank knows it's true, so it's true. Decentralized means everybody knows it's true. So I know, you know, my friend knows, everybody or all of their friends know. So rather than one person being in charge or one bank, everybody is in charge.
And there are lots of really great videos to check out how this works. But the long story short is there are thousands of people with just, I mean, you can just use basic computers to do this. You don't have to have a whole lot of specialized equipment. You can run the blockchain. You in what's called nodes.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
another thing we're going to get into later.
Oh, absolutely. So the idea is seven here's the concept of decentralized. Okay. Um you have user X and user Y. Okay. So user X gives user Y $10 of Bitcoin, okay? And they run it through the exchanges. So at the same time that's happening, 7 Foot and I are both running nodes, okay? And us plus thousands of other people. So what happens is if if let's just say user X is my buddy, okay, and he comes to me and he says, "Hey man, could you go ahead and erase that so like it doesn't even look like I gave user Y the cash?" And then I go ahead and I go in and I go, "Tick, tick, 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 tick." Okay, done. Right? You never gave him. You still have that $10 of Bitcoin in your account, in your wallet, and Y, in according to my register, Y never got the cash, so Y doesn't have the money. But then 7 Foot and thousands of other people all recorded the original transaction, and they go, "Wait, no, 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 that's not how this." No, they basically can call BS on it,
Because
right? And it's there's a lot more technicality to it essentially, but that's what we mean by decentralized. There is no way one person could manipulate the system because thousands of other people are actually also operating the system in tandem with anybody else.
just to
So
explain how important that is, and the fact that nobody's checking on the central banks, this is how infinite money is created when you talk to people at the Fed, and there's that classic clip of the guy saying the federal bank has an infinite amount of money. It's because nobody checks. So when a country needs money, all they do is type in a number and then all of a sudden they have that money. Obviously, when that happens, you know, there's consequences like inflation and all that sort of stuff, but nobody can check it. So if America says all of a sudden America has an extra $3 trillion, okay, America has an extra $3 trillion. Where they got it from, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows. And then they send it out, which is a major problem because it makes the value of the dollar less when there's more of it. And with the decentralized system, nobody can create more without everybody agreeing to it.
you can't create more and you can't game the system.
Yes.
Like I said, I can't go in because I mean, in theory, yes, I could. And that's and so with decentralized finance, we also talk about the idea of a trustless system. Okay. That's a really important concept in Bitcoin and in eCoin is the idea that I don't have to trust that you're going to be honest because the system won't let you be dishonest. And
Yes.
that's a really big thing so for example, if you go to my website and you buy something, okay, let's say you buy a wallet from me using Bitcoin, okay? I don't have to trust that the bank is going to pay me. I don't have to trust that you have the money in your account
Mhm.
because if you can give me the Bitcoin, you have the Bitcoin.
That's right. Yeah.
That's how it works.
No credit, no
And
nothing.
there is no credit system. It is what it is. And you can't go back and you can't like for PayPal, and you know this as a streamer, right? Especially earlier, maybe 3, 4 years ago, there was a huge rash of people making massive donations through PayPal. right? They were
Yeah.
using fiat currency through PayPal to donate to streamers, and then they were coming back, because they wanted the accolades. Oh, look at this guy! He just gave this guy $10,000. It's amazing, right? And then he would go back and he would tell PayPal, no, 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 that was a back charge. I didn't mean to do that, or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So that he would get the money back, and then the streamer would be out that cash, right? Remember that when it was happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, you can't do that.
You
There
can't.
is no,
No
there
takesies,
is no
backsies.
there's no takesies backsies on Bitcoin, right? Because the way the system is written, the way the code works
Mhm.
is it is not only is it locked into place, but it's locked into place by thousands of
By
people
everyone.
who
Yeah.
are all double checking
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Exactly.
So it's really an amazing concept in terms of
Just
programming and just overall innovation in terms of uh, finance.
computing.
So
Well, it's basically, what's 17 times 364? I don't know, but my calculator knows, and I trust my calculator to know. So you just let technology be like, hey, what's going on here? The technology knows. It takes it out of the human, because even if everybody's honest with like a human transaction, mistakes can happen just
yep,
mathematically,
that's
or
true.
you can send
That's
it to
true.
the wrong account. Now it I guess not impossible, but it's basically impossible for a mistake to happen because you're letting the technology be in charge of what's going on, which is just
Yeah,
a
and
way better way to
I
do
think
it.
I mean yeah, there's that, and then absolutely there's the idea that if someone's trying to game the system, there's also a stopgap measure in that as well, and that is just it's a really big deal. So when we talk about decentralized finance, what
Defy.
DeFi,
It's just defy. I think it's called
basically what DeFi is, it
just defy.
is all of the products that are now flowing or that are starting to flow around the concept of Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Okay. So like so like BlockFi.
Hmm.
Um it is a lending house. So they essentially you put your Bitcoin in with them, right? They loan out loans based on how much uh ecoin they have, right? Like
Yeah.
a bank,
Yeah.
essentially. They make loans, they get a return on those loans, and you get interest on your coin, whatever it is, as a
Whatever you have
percentage.
there. But you're risking
S-
that they loan out. It's the same way if a bank loans out too much, all of a sudden it's not there. That's what I'm still nervous about the whole banking.
Right, and I have to admit a little ignorance on that. I don't know if they set rules for themselves in terms of we will only loan out as much as we have. I do know, and again, guys, I encourage you to guys to research all of this stuff because it's happening so fast. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna record this on a Monday, and you guys probably won't even get it until like a Friday or Saturday, right?
Mhm.
And I guarantee you something will have changed between then. That's
There's
how fast this stuff is happening.
And that's why, this podcast, just to put it back into simple terms, I don't want this to be a podcast about like the top news stories of the week. It's just I want it to be a really basic beginner's intro to what Bitcoin is, and talking about the buzzwords that you're going to come across and how to do it safely, securely, and ask any dumb questions that you might have, because most of them have been asked by me and Papa. And so don't be scared. Don't be scared to ask dumb questions, because you'll get an answer and then you get a
Yeah,
little
you
bit less
definitely
dumb.
will. Definitely will.
But yeah, there's
So
a
anyway, so
thousand
that's
stories that are going on.
decentralized finance means. It's all of the products that are starting to pop up now. You've got home loans, you've got insurance that is popping up over decentralized financing. You have all just regular loans like BlockFi. So all of the if you look at basically look at all of the systems that are centered around Wall Street. Okay, the what is it called, the futures markets and
Hmm.
all of that stuff, okay, but all of that stuff is now starting to be created around
DeFi.
blockchain
Yeah.
technology,
Yeah.
so that's called the DeFi universe or whatever you want to
DeFi.
call it.
Yeah, basically, DeFi is going to be as simple of a term to understand as what the internet is, but we're just so early in
Right,
it. Like when people were saying internet, it was like, what is this word? What World Wide Web? What is that? Now it's stupid to think of it because it's so obvious.
because
And
everyone knows what it is,
yeah,
absolutely.
so it'll be that next step in understanding. Uh, okay, we're getting close to an hour here, so let's just quickly do a price check. I want to do a
Yep,
little
let's
price
go.
check.
What are we at?
I think that'll be fun to do weekly, just to see what it's
Yeah.
at.
Okay,
Um,
so I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm gonna check my Coinbase app right now. Coinbase Pro, go. Tell me what it is.
so I'm on Coinbase regular, and it's 33,66602. Is that what you're
What do
seeing?
you have? Well, mine's taking forever to load because
Okay.
my internet is not so good out here.
Oh no. What if the internet
Okay,
goes
so
down?
I
Then you
have
lose all your
Bitcoin
Bitcoin.
at 33,650 and 44 cents.
There you go. So right around the 33,000 mark, which is where it's been all week. It had a bit of a spike to 38 earlier in the week from something. I don't know what it was. Something Elon said, but
There was a brief flush where it spiked, but it did come back down.
and
So,
I,
but it's up 12. It's up 0.12% on the last 24 hours. So
and it does go up and down. And one thing I want to talk that's funny about the price of Bitcoin is like I'm kind of living in the world where I don't care what the price is anymore because, like you said, people are gonna be like, well, once I have my Bitcoin, it's not just sitting there doing nothing. It's going up in value. So just holding it is getting better. But once you really understand Bitcoin, you're not gonna care how much it's worth in dollars. You're gonna care how many Sats you own, and the goal is to get as many Sats as possible is what most people's goals are to just stack them.
fine.
Oh, define Sat. So Sat is a Satoshi, which is a 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. One Bitcoin can be broken up into 100 million parts. One Sat is 100 millionth, and you want to buy as many of those as you can. So that number never changes. I actually had a conversation with somebody came into my stream and was like, "Well, I bought a bunch of Bitcoin, but then the price went down, so I didn't have any left." And the answer to that is no. Whether you buy Bitcoin at $100,000 or $10,000, you're going to have an amount of Sats or an amount of Bitcoin. That number will not change. The amount that it's worth changes. So, like Papa said, if you can get onto a program where you're gaining more Sats every day, that's great. But the price is going to go up and down, and it's just something you have to decide not to stress about. But it's also fun to look at.
I think it's a concept. It's a concept that you have to wrap your brain around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think eventually people will care every day what it's worth. Again, we talked about this a little bit last week. What I'm banking on is the day when I can go to my grocery store and I can buy a gallon of milk with it.
You can do that
Okay,
right now.
I can't. I cannot go to the Piggly Wiggly and buy a gallon of milk.
There's
They will
apps,
look at
dude.
me like
Yes,
an idiot.
there are apps that you can do. If you had a Fold app card, you could do it. That was the other thing I wanted to do for the end of the show is talk about a few apps that or any developments that we were excited about this week. So,
See, apps like that, what they do is they convert it into, for my example, they would convert it into USD. I don't
yes,
want that. What I want is I want, like my company can do, tworavenstrading.com. What I want is that you can go to a location and spend, because what happens, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, when you can walk into a store and you can spend BTC, which is the ticker tape for, or the ticker marker for
for
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
If you can just spend that, not dollars, right? I don't want to listen, gallon of milk is on the shelf. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to spend $2 on the gallon of milk. I want to spend point
Four
zero zero
four
zero zero
liters
one.
for anybody in Canada. 4 liters is what he means.
Right, yeah. I forgot this podcast is international, man. We're going worldwide.
We're go-
Worldwide, G.
yeah, North
But
America. But yes, you want to go into the grocery store and buy a gallon of milk. You can do that. That's what like you can. You
can
just
do that. What I am waiting for is when they just take straight up Bitcoin. Because
yeah.
when that happens, the price of Bitcoin stabilizes infinitely, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If it's no longer a speculative market, if I'm not going to, let's say I get paid in Bitcoin, which some people are starting to do now. We talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm getting paid in Bitcoin, right? I don't I want it to be stable. I want to be able to know the price today, tomorrow, and the day after, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once we get to that point where we're actually trading in it, it becomes a real world currency, then it's going to stabilize and people are going to it's just going to be that much more valuable. It
Let me ask
really
you.
is.
Let me ask you that. How much research have you done into the Lightning Network?
I've actually done more into the Ethereum network.
Okay, two completely different things, but that's fine. The Lightning
Agreed.
Network, basically, in a nutshell, it takes whatever Bitcoin you have, uh, automatically changes it into whatever currency the location of store is taking for you. Uh, Magically turns your Bitcoin into whatever they want, and then they on their end receive that currency. So, like, you go to the dollar store, you have a Bitcoin Visa, which Visa has just recently said, yeah, we're gonna start adding Bitcoin to um, our business model, where you can just have Bitcoin on the Visa network. So you swipe your Visa Bitcoin card, and the company gets whatever money they want, and it just comes out of whatever balance you want. And this is going to be used for. I could just literally only be holding euros, and I can go to an American store and just be like, yeah, put it on Visa, and the Lightning Network automatically changes the amount of euros I have, does the conversion rate, changes it into American dollars, and that store receives American dollars, and I lose euro dollars or Bitcoin or whatever you want it to be. The Lightning Network is some pretty crazy stuff.
I think that's an amazing technology, and it's only available because of Bitcoin and the blockchain technology.
Yeah,
But my problem with that is that we need to have be- as long as people keep and now sorry everyone the audience we're just kind of getting into like philosophical debate essentially,
okay.
but as long as it's just a speculative market, it's going to it's not going to become something solid that you can truly depend on. Because here's the thing, right now, and we've seen this in the last 6 months, we have gone from Bitcoin being somewhere what in like the 15s or 16 thousands.
It was 7,000 last March, and then it was 20 at the
7,000
beginning of December.
up on March in about a month and a half, and we're at 30,000.
Mhm.
You cannot have those kind of swings, okay, and have it be stable enough to be used. It can fluctuate slightly, like the currently how the dollar fluctuates,
That
right?
okay, that was going to be my point. Is like literally that's the system the world is running on. Bitcoin
It
fluctuates a lot
like
up and down.
the dollar fluctuates right now. Okay, let's say just against the what do you guys have? The loon Canadian. What's
Yes,
your
we trade
standard?
in loons and tunes.
Loons and tunes, right? So the tunes is a $2 for you, right? Like a $2.
A toonie is $2. Yeah.
So for example, right? I think you guys are actually stronger than the dollar right now,
No,
right?
we're
Like,
not. We're 70
oh
cents on
no,
the dollar. Yeah.
okay. So let's just put it in like plain terms, right? I take a dollar, right now, today, and I go buy something in Canada, and it's going to give me 70 cents of loon, right? But tomorrow it could be 72 cents,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The way we're dealing with Bitcoin right now is I could go in and I could buy a Bitcoin worth of loon and to be worth one loon today, and then tomorrow it could be worth 15,000 loon. Like
Yes.
that is not
It's a
a
bit of an
stable enough way
extreme.
for people to trade with it,
So the problem
you know?
with that is that if you actually look at the charts, Bitcoin, although it looks like I mean, it is crazy. I'm not going to deny it's not crazy. But when you look at the percentages rather than the dollar amount, it's been relatively stable and going up 20%, coming down 20%, going up 40%, coming down 40%. So people
Right.
see that it's changed. Oh, it changed $10,000. Yeah, but that's only 25%, and that's what we were expecting to see happen anyway. So it's not really that big of a deal. And then on top of that, one sat will always be worth one sat. So if you stop comparing it to other currencies, all you want to do is just compare it to itself. So long as I have one sat in my Bitcoin wallet, I'll know that I have one sat, and I don't care what it's worth in dollar amounts, because that's going to change forever. It's actually, if you
We
flip the
talked
script.
we talked about this in the first episode. We talked
Okay.
about what is money,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah, that's
And you
true.
kind of just fell into my trap, all right? Because what I want is I want people to say, "Okay, this leather wallet isn't worth $50. It's worth 0.0005 sat." Okay?
Yeah.
That's what I want, right? And so my point is right now Bitcoin is very speculative. It's like gold.
Hmm.
Nobody you can't you could go to 100 people right now. You could show them a gallon of milk or a new car or whatever, and you could say, "How much in gold is this worth?" They wouldn't be able to tell you at all. And the problem is right now, Bitcoin is the exact same way.
But
You
what's
can't tell me
what's good
how
about that
much. Go ahead.
what's good about that is the bartering system becomes better because it's up to each individual, me and you, to say what is it worth to me. So if I'm buying a wallet from you and I say that's worth 500 sats and you say okay, we don't have to care about what the government calls a sat. We don't have to care about
Oh,
what
I
down the street,
100% agree.
right?
I
So it
100
doesn't matter.
what I want is more adoption of that. I want more people to be on that level.
You want it to be
If
more
we
steady.
if you have a thing like you were just describing with the Lightning Network, where I'm gonna be a normie and I'm gonna just keep carrying, fiat money in my pocket, I never have to engage in that system.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you and I can't deal on that level. If I'm the normie and you're the coiner, we'll never engage on that level because they're going to take it away. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
You
they're just lesser than you if they're using fiat. You can just be like,
well, if they're a fiat normie, then whatever, we can barely be friends. But you understand what I'm saying. Philosophically,
Bitcoiners.
what we want as coiners is we want adoption. We don't want a mask over what's happening, right? We don't want to make it easier for somebody else necessarily. And this is purely philosophical, right? Like whatever. But
Okay.
the point is right now, Bitcoin, to be fair, is just a what do they call that? It's
Speculative.
not a currency. You can't really use it as a currency still. It's getting there. It's very much
I'm
getting
gonna
there. But
100% disagree with you, man. Like,
mm,
if you talk to Bitcoiners, that it's 100% a currency and it's 100% has value, and 100% between each individual, they make up what they think it's worth. And for the most
do you
part,
know people actually own Bitcoin in the world right now? I just heard of the statistic yesterday.
I
I
think
was
it's
just listening.
point. It's either I think it's 2% or 0.2%.
It's like a billion people actually own Bitcoin.
A
A
billion?
million people.
Oh, a million. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing.
I know it's very early. It's exciting, isn't it?
Right. So my do you
But
get my
those
so
million, but those
thought
million
experiment.
people, if you talk
Thought
to
experiment.
them,
Thought experiment though. You take your 5 Satoshi, okay? 5 Satoshi is currently, it's not even it's what,
it's
50
pennies,
cents,
not
okay?
even pennies. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's just assume for sake of argument it's 50 cents. You could buy a pack of gum with that, let's just say, okay?
Hmm.
Could you go anywhere in your town right now, buy that pack of gum with 5 Satoshi?
In a roundabout way, I could.
Right, in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And what I'm advocating for, because I'm pretty, you I think you think you're pretty hardcore Bitcoin. I am super hardcore Bitcoin, and that I want everyone to adopt it. Do you know why? Because fuck. Are we allowed to swear? Are we allowed to swear in
It's
this
our
podcast?
show. It'll be bleeped out in post.
I'm sorry, but f the government, seriously. And this takes them all out of. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to just.
And the podcast just
I
got shut down by some outside source.
we just got shut down.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah.
philosophically, you and I are exactly on the same page. I think I'm just a little more hardline than you because
Okay.
I
So
want it to be accepted across the board. I literally want to be able to go into the grocery store, the hardware store, buy a car, just day-to-day transactions. Like you and I go out drinking, right?
mhm,
And I buy you some drinks, I want you to pay me back in Satoshi. I want you to pay me back in coin.
we can
You
do
know what I'm
that.
saying? Yeah, we could do that,
Yes.
but the general populace can't do that.
Well, if we go
And
to a
until
bar that
that
takes Bitcoin, then yeah.
happens, that
If we go to a bar that takes Bitcoin, then yeah.
well, maybe.
And I
And
think
but
that
that's what I
the other benefit is if you're selling your wallet for like to bring it back to your store, if you're selling your wallet for $10, I don't know what you sell them for.
sure,
Um,
let's say $10.
so $10, when you post it for or this amount of Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin you're going to ask for, if you're smart, it would be less than $10 worth of Bitcoin because you know in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now that Bitcoin is going to be worth more than $10. Therefore, paying with Bitcoin, for the most part, you get a discount on the good at the given time, but over time you gain more. And so it's a win win because the person paying for the thing
No,
gives less
no,
than the
yes,
dollar's
I
worth.
agree with you. That's why I'm willing to do it. But you have to I mean, you have to acknowledge, right? Okay, so let's say look at it from another standpoint. Let's say you work for me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super hyped into Bitcoin, and I'm gonna pay you in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right? But right now, let's say I pay you a fifth of Bitcoin every week to work for me.
Mhm.
That's really good, by the way. That would
Mhm.
be like super. That would be really nice, right? I pay you a fifth in Bitcoin, but you aren't guaranteed that that Bitcoin is going to be worth that fifth. So, like
No,
right now, I'm
it's
going to
always going to be worth a fifth of a Bitcoin. So long as you give me a fifth
yeah,
of Bitcoin, I have a fifth of Bitcoin. Doesn't matter what its
but
dollars worth.
things are only worth what you pay for them, or things are only worth what people are willing to pay for them,
So it's
and the
my
vice
job
versa.
then to take that fifth of a Bitcoin and make somebody else want it for whatever it is I'm looking for.
How could you ever do that?
Okay, did you not watch the Didi Taitatu interview?
Probably, mate. I don't know, dude. I've watched a lot of videos.
Okay,
Yes, dude.
this guy is literally like 6 years ago. Okay, this will be the last story of the podcast. 6 years ago, he just said, you know what, screw the system. I'm just gonna. He was a millionaire from random businesses. He sold his house, he sold everything, and he's just like, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of Bitcoin and I'm gonna travel the world. And he's got 3 kids and his wife, and they just live.
Hawaiian guy?
Which guy?
Is that the Hawaiian guy?
He's. I don't think he's Hawaiian. He might kind of look Hawaiian. That's probably what you're
Say,
thinking.
say,
Didi. So yeah, his job, like he's made it his job to
I
just go to.
would, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you were cutting off. What were you saying?
I actually just watched a CNBC video that featured him today.
Okay,
So
yeah, yeah. I haven't watched that one yet, but he's awesome. So what he does is he just goes to a Airbnb with his family, talks to the guy that owns it. If it's worth $3,000 a month, he says, "Okay, I'll pay you in Bitcoin." He talks down, sits down, talks with the guy, and says, "This is why this Bitcoin is worth money. This is why you should have it." And then he just gives them Bitcoin. So it's up to the individual to say what it's worth. So if you're
he's
going to give me a
I can get that, but you got to understand that again, there's only a million people that own coin right. You and I are literally one of a million.
yeah,
Like
well, I've always
that's
thought that about you, but
you're so nice. All right, you know what? This is good philosophy. We can argue about this more in the future episodes, but let's dunk on one no coiner and then do an outro real
okay, we'll
fast.
dunk on a no coiner. The no coiner
We
of
gotta,
the.
we gotta a no coiner. Go ahead.
Okay, so do you want to define what a no coiner is? Do you know what a no coiner is?
No coiner isn't somebody you guys listening right now, you guys are not no coiners. Even though you haven't necessarily purchased any coin, you're sitting here and you're listening and you're not hating everything we're saying. A no coiner is somebody who will never ever agree that that ecoin is a
Bitcoin.
thing that could be good or be a thing.
They know
So
about it, they've done the research, and they think that it's not going to work. They think it's a bubble, and it's just sad. Who you are listening to this, you're a pre-coiner because you will eventually own Bitcoin. Everybody's technically a pre-coiner. No coiners just don't want to be thought of as being a pre-coiner.
no coiners are essentially no you know who no coiners are? No coiners are the people on Kitty Hawk Beach when the Wright brothers were inventing the airplane. They were watching the airplane go up into the air and fly around for 30 minutes, and they were going, if man was meant to fly, God would have given him wings.
That's right.
That's a no coin, right?
Just angry people. Okay, the no coiner of the day is going to be Peter Schiff, and I have a feeling he's going to come right out of the way. So
Dude,
Peter,
you just low hanging fruit on that one.
I I think it might be an ongoing thing where the no coiner of the
That's
day
probably
is going to be Peter Schiff.
yeah,
So
go ahead.
Peter Schiff on January 30th said the real reason Elon Musk may be interested in helping to sustain the Bitcoin bubble, is that the last thing he wants is for bubbles to start popping. When you live in a bubble, it's very dangerous to throw pins at others. The risk is that an errant pin inadvertently pops yours. So Peter Schiff, let me dunk on you for a second in saying Bitcoin is a bubble. A bubble is defined by being something that goes up and comes down. Bitcoin ain't never coming down. It's so obvious that it's only going to get more popular and popular as it goes. A bubble needs to pop, and the real bubble in this scenario of the world is the US dollar, which is sad, and he's scared. And Peter Schiff, if you want to buy gold, but nobody cares about gold. It's just, it's so funny to me that people think Bitcoin is a bubble when you look at the finance world, bubble being something that just is going to dump out. But if you look at anybody that's into Bitcoin that really is starting to think about it, ain't nobody selling. I'm never selling my Bitcoin, and therefore it's never a bubble. Shut up, Peter. You want to dunk on him a bit?
God, I actually forgot you were Canadian for a minute there. Like that was so hardcore edgy. Like you didn't even say I'm sorry at the end. What?
I've
What's
never said
happening?
him. Peter, I actually said some pretty nice things to Peter Schiff in some of his tweets, but I'm oftentimes dunking on him in his tweets, and it's really fun.
I think, hmm, it's funny to me, right? Because you got Peter Schiff. If you guys don't know who Peter Schiff is, it doesn't even matter. Honestly, it's
He's
just
just a
kind of it's just he's a financial guru, but he's kind of old school.
he's
What's funny
swinging
to
at
me
airplanes in the air while they're flying, saying
is
they're gonna fall.
Robert Kiyosaki. I believe I could be wrong. Robert Kiyosaki is older than him. I think Robert Kiyosaki is like 77, and Schiff is like 60s, something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
Kiyosaki sees the value in Bitcoin. Kiyosaki, by the way, a man who used to actually own a gold and silver mine, literally in China. Um, he understands the value of gold and silver quite well. He also sees the value in eCoin. Peter Schiff is this. He's obstinate, is the word.
He's just fun
He's
to
just
dunk on. That's all.
he's just very stubborn, and
Yeah,
uh, yeah. It's a good dunk. It's a
it's
good
a good
dunk. We
dunk.
need we need some sort of like some sort of audio like
Yeah, I'll add it
uh
in post. A swish.
kind of a thing.
Wow. Yeah,
So
nice. All right.
anyway, good
Okay.
dunk. Good. So wait, I have a new thing I just invented for you.
A
Okay,
new
you ready?
okay, a new segment.
I think we need to read comments from the last episode and just go ahead and respond to them real
Okay,
fast.
do you have it
You
open?
ready?
Do you have it open right now?
I
'Cause
do.
okay,
I
why
have it
don't you
here.
read the comments really quick?
Right. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to pick one. I'm just going to
Just pick
pick one.
one, yeah.
All right. Okay. Um, Mayam Sasu says, I so much appreciate you. Thanks, you Intelligex on Telegram. Ich den angefangen habe, Intelligex on Telegram zu nutzen, haben sie much nie such.
And I want to just say thank you for reading that with such clarity, and a big thank you to what was his name again?
Mayam, thank you.
Mayam, thank you for interacting with the podcast. We appreciate it, and all
Super
of your
appreciate it.
comments are.
We know you're totally not a bot, and we really appreciate you being a very real human being.
We
It's
love
very
real
cool.
people. All right,
Yep, real people saying real things.
real. That should be the tagline for our podcast. Real people saying real things. This has been Why Bitcoin with 7 Foot Fiend and.
Mayam.
Oh, come on. God, that would have been so clean. Okay, thanks so much for listening, guys. We appreciate you. We'll listen to you. You'll listen to us next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.